hunting is a complicated profession. Don't you agree?
Hey everybody, it's Charlie. We have our first trailer for Star Wars The Mandalorian on Disney Plus coming later this year, so we got to break it down. I will be doing episode videos for this, so be sure to subscribe to get all the videos, and when it actually does start, I will do giveaways for Disney Plus subscriptions, and it will be rolling out internationally too, so if you live outside the United States, you will be able to get Disney Plus eventually. The series is going to be 8 episodes. They're going to air 1 episode per week, and the first episode will premiere November 12th when they launch the Disney Plus streaming service. The footage in the trailer here is just a little bit different from the trailer that they showed off way back at Star Wars Celebration. It's 5 years after Return of the Jedi in the Battle of Endor. There's no central government, the Empire is in ruins, they lost their power base, but the New Republic government hasn't evolved out of the embers of the rebellion yet, so it's complete chaos is what they're explaining. So a lot of the series is inspired by old westerns like Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name. So picture a lot of these outer rim territory towns being a lot like Tatooine. Like the planet they're on looks very Tatooine-like because of all the sand, but this isn't meant to be Tatooine, and obviously the series will visit a bunch of different planets. His ship is called the Razor Crest. It actually reminds me a lot of the ship from back during Clone Wars. Even though Jon Favreau implied that Boba Fett will not show up on the series, there will be a lot of Easter eggs for everything from all the Star Wars movies. One of the ones you may have already spotted is that the rifle that he's using is actually the exact same rifle that Boba Fett had during the Star Wars Christmas special when the character debuted in the Star Wars universe for the very first time. So they even have Star Wars Christmas special Easter eggs in this series. The scene at the beginning of the trailer here is the Mandalorian going to pick up a bounty that he's just learned about that's almost too good to be true. He's being hired by Werner Herzog's character, who's the administrator of this sort of fringe town in the Outer Territories, who's hiring him to find someone. That someone is actually a little girl that you see later in the trailer huddling with her mother here. But he offers him a bunch of Beskar, and that's the special metal that Mandalorians use to make their armor and their weapons. It's ultra rare and ultra valuable, so it's almost like he's giving him a mountain of cash, so to speak, to go pick up this little girl and bring her back. But as you can tell from the tone of the trailer, he does not seem like a very good person. You also see a lot of Imperial stuff going on with a lot of stormtroopers. You see Giancarlo Esposito from Breaking Bad in a TIE pilot's uniform. Like he used to be a captain in the Empire, and now he's just a minor warlord, because you have all these generals that are left over, the ones that didn't die, either turned into warlords, or they were killed at the Battle of Jakku before the events of Star Wars Episode 7 and the Rise of the First Order. That's a whole other thing happening way later in the timeline too. This is happening much closer to Return of the Jedi. We aren't anywhere near the Rise of the First Order when this is all happening. The fact that he's walking past these stormtrooper helmets is just meant to let you know that the Empire has fallen, even though, technically, there's still a lot of systems that are loyal to the Empire's way of thinking. As you see him get into fights with stormtroopers, and you see this giant AT-AT walker and other Imperial weaponry and technology, the way Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, who also helped him create the series, the master of all Star Wars television series, they said that it wasn't like the galaxy suddenly raised their arms up in cheers when the Empire fell. There were a lot of people that really liked the way the Empire did things, the order that they brought, even if it was a very oppressive order. So that just lends itself to this chaotic environment where you have people like Werner Herzog's character, Giancarlo Esposito, and a bunch of other Imperials rising up trying to maintain the Empire's way of life, even though technically they aren't around anymore. Carl Weathers plays the leader of the Bounty Hunters Guild that Pedro Pascal's Mandalorian character belongs to. They don't give him a name, they just call him the Mandalorian. We don't know if he actually does wind up taking his helmet off during the series. I'm sure he will at some point, but for a little while they'll maintain status quo for Boba Fett, at least in the original trilogy. You finally found out what Jango Fett and then Boba Fett looked like during the prequels, but I don't know if they're going to be referencing any of that stuff. Most of this is pulling from the original trilogy because it's happening right after the events of those movies. Gina Carano's character is another bounty hunter. She's called Cara Dune. She's a former shock trooper who just never adjusted to civilian life after the end of the Empire and the Rebellion's war, so now she's part of this bounty hunters guild. If you've seen any movie with Gina Carano kicking ass, you can imagine what she's going to be like during the series. Really cool to see them riding dewbacks. This one either seems like it's been shot by this other bounty hunter or just keeled over from exhaustion. This Twi'lek is just another member of that bounty hunters guild. Really nice iconic shot of him walking across the horizon line just like a classic Western movie. The IG-88 looking droid is Taika Waititi. He's voicing that character, but they did say that his IG-11 is not IG-88. It's just another bounty hunter droid of the same make and model as IG-88. This scene of the Mexican standoff inside Werner Herzog's office here was in that earlier trailer that they showed off. They didn't post that online, but there's some potato quality footage floating around. It's from the scene when he first walks into Werner Herzog's office here, and he has a separate character named Dr. Pershing who walks in from another room, startles the Mandalorian. That sets off the three-way Mexican standoff. Werner Herzog's character makes a joke about how he's outnumbered 4-1, and he says, "I like those odds." Just a really cool, really tough standoff moment. Another really badass cantina scene. I love this takedown too. He actually hooks someone and draws them halfway into the doorway. The circular door shuts on him, cutting him in half. So it's letting you know that this is going to be a pretty hardcore series if he's going to be taking down people like this. Love the shots of all the bounties that he's collected and put in carbonite, Boba Fett style, big callback, while Werner Herzog's character is talking about bounty hunting is a very dangerous profession, isn't it? Early predictions for the series, just based on the way these narrative tropes play out, if you've ever watched any kind of classic Western, any kind of Clint Eastwood movie, is that he's hired to find a bounty. That bounty winds up being a little girl. He winds up sympathizing with her and trying to protect her from the person that hired him to take the bounty. Werner Herzog winds up being a bigger villain than he lets on at the beginning of the series. What tends to happen when you renege on a bounty that you've been paid a ton of money for is the person that hired you hires other bounty hunters to go kill you and bring in the bounty. He's a member of Carl Weathers' Bounty Hunters Guild. There's probably a bunch of other people that he's known for a long time, either maybe done jobs with or maybe been frenemies with, who will wind up being hired to come after him by the end of the series. I wouldn't say that they're friends or anything like that, but they do look like they've been friendly in the past or they've helped each other out on jobs. So everybody post your reactions in the comments below. What they also announced at this panel is that the Clone Wars Season 7 will be dropping in February next year, and they confirmed that the Obi-Wan Star Wars series will start shooting next year. They finished all the scripts. It'll also probably be about 8 episodes. They brought Ewan McGregor out on stage. I'm guessing it would premiere in 2021 because it takes about a year to turn the episodes around. Most of my predictions about the time period that the show would take place wound up being true. It'll take place around the events of Star Wars Solo, making that Darth Maul post-credit scene that much more important. The timeline is a little wonky with Star Wars Rebels and all the other animated series between the big trilogies, but there is a way they can make Darth Maul work on that series.
Bring the ship and come to me on Dathomir. And you and I will then decide what to do about the traitor Beckett and his accomplices.
I'll talk more about Star Wars Obi-Wan when we get some more details about that series. We don't know if Ahsoka is going to star in it too, because that would be a really easy slam dunk for that series. So if you didn't see me tweeting through the entire panel, there was a whole bunch of Marvel stuff. They confirmed Miss Marvel, they confirmed Moon Knight, they confirmed a She-Hulk series. There was a trailer for Marvel Phase 4 with Black Widow footage, with Hawkeye footage, a bunch of other stuff. I'll start doing videos for that tomorrow. They announced so many huge things today, my mind was completely blown. So everybody freak out in the comments, and while you wait for all that stuff, click here to learn how Marvel can win Spider-Man back from Sony into the MCU, and click here for my video on the Eternals teaser from Comic-Con. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.